You know your blood type. Maybe you found out before surgery, or through a DNA test, or because someone in your family mentioned it. And if your blood type is O, positive or negative, you have probably heard at least one of the things people say about it. That it is the universal donor, that it is the oldest blood type, that it connects you to some ancient line of humanity. Some of those things are true, some are myths. And the real story is considerably more fascinating than any of the myths. Because blood type is not just a medical classification, it is a genetic record, a signature written into your DNA. It reflects where your ancestors came from, which diseases they survived, which migrations they made across hundreds of thousands of years of human history. And a landmark study published in 2025 has revealed something extraordinary about how human blood types, including type O, actually developed. Something that connects the origin of your blood type directly to one of the most important chapters in the story of how humans populated the planet. The answer involves an ancient plateau, a 15,000-year pause in human migration, and a genetic incubator. This genetic incubator changed the biology of every non-African human alive today. Before we can understand where type O comes from, we need to understand what blood type actually is at the molecular level. The popular understanding is almost always incomplete. The ABO blood group system was discovered by the Austrian physician Karl Landsteiner in 1901. It classifies human blood according to the presence or absence of specific protein markers called antigens on the surface of red blood cells. People with type A blood have A antigens. People with type B blood have B antigens. People with type AB blood have both. And people with type O blood have neither. This is the key fact. Type O is defined by absence. It carries no A antigen and no B antigen. From a molecular standpoint, type O red blood cells are essentially the baseline. The A and B blood types arose later, through mutations that added antigen-producing machinery. Type O represents the ancestral state. The Rh factor, whether you are positive or negative, is a completely separate genetic system controlled by a different gene. Rh positive means you carry the Rhd protein. Rh negative means you do not. About 85% of humans are Rh positive. Rh negative is significantly more common in people of European ancestry. This pattern tells an interesting ancestral story. Together, your ABO type and Rh factor give you your full blood type. O positive is the most common in most populations. O negative is the universal donor. It can be transfused into anyone, which is why hospitals stockpile it for emergencies. But where did these variants come from? And why does type O dominate some populations while being much rarer in others? In 2025, a research team from the French National Center for Scientific Research published a study that changed our understanding. The study analyzed ancient DNA from hundreds of individuals across Eurasia, spanning thousands of years of human prehistory. Blood types did not remain static as humans migrated out of Africa. They changed. New variants emerged. The timing and location of those changes maps perfectly onto the major pauses and bottlenecks in the human migration story. The most dramatic finding concerned the Iranian Plateau. Modern humans migrating out of Africa did not immediately spread across Eurasia. Instead, significant populations paused for extended periods in specific geographic refuges. The Iranian Plateau was one of the most important. The study found that humans paused their migration on the Iranian Plateau for approximately 15,000 years. During that pause, the modern variants of type O, A, and B developed and stabilized in this population. The Iranian Plateau functioned as a genetic incubator. The population was large enough to maintain diversity, yet isolated enough to develop distinct variants. When these populations eventually moved on, they carried the blood type variants that had developed during those 15,000 years. If you have type O blood today, that molecular form traces back to a population living on the Iranian Plateau 60,000 years ago. Your blood type is, in a very real sense, a memory of that ancient journey. If you look at the global distribution of blood types, One pattern stands out immediately. Type O is not evenly distributed across human populations. It dominates some groups almost completely while being far less common in others. In indigenous populations of the Americas, particularly in South and Central America, Type O frequencies reach extraordinary levels. In some indigenous communities in South America, close to 100% of the population has Type O blood. This is not a coincidence. It is the genetic signature of a population bottleneck combined with disease selection. Approximately 15,000 years ago, the ancestors of the indigenous Americans crossed from northeastern Asia via the Beringian land bridge. They passed through an extreme bottleneck, a small founding population that happened to carry very high frequencies of Type O. Once established in the Americas, isolated from the disease environments of Eurasia and Africa, that Type O dominance was maintained and intensified. The near-complete absence of Type B blood in pre-contact indigenous American populations is one of the clearest signatures of this founding bottleneck. It tells us that the founding population was small and then reproduced in isolation for thousands of years before European contact. In contrast, populations of Central and South Asia show much more balanced distributions of blood types. This reflects the complex mixing of multiple ancient populations with different blood type frequencies over thousands of years of migration and contact. West Africans show high Type O frequencies, but also significant Type A, reflecting a different evolutionary history. East Asian populations tend toward higher Type B frequencies, reflecting specific migrations and disease exposures over the past 20,000 years. Blood type frequency is, in short, a population-level record of migration history, bottlenecks, and disease selection. It provides a broad-stroke picture that aligns remarkably well with what ancient DNA and archaeological evidence tells us about human prehistory. The obvious question is, if Type O is the ancestral and most common blood type globally, why did Type A and Type B ever evolve? The answer involves one of the most important forces in human evolution: infectious disease. Different blood types confer different degrees of susceptibility to different pathogens. This is not a minor effect. Type O people are significantly more susceptible to cholera. The bacterium uses the blood type antigen system to infect intestinal cells. In populations historically exposed to cholera, particularly in South and Southeast Asia, this susceptibility would have been a genuine survival disadvantage. Type A people, on the other hand, are more susceptible to smallpox. Historical evidence suggests that smallpox epidemics had particularly severe effects on populations with high Type A frequencies. When smallpox swept through Europe and the Americas, the populations most affected were those with higher Type A frequencies. Type O people are also more susceptible to plague, the disease that killed approximately 1/3 of Europe in the 14th century. Populations with higher Type A and Type B frequencies survived plague at slightly higher rates than populations with high Type O frequencies. These disease relationships explain why evolution has maintained all 4 blood types, rather than allowing any single type to displace the others. In different disease environments, different blood types have different survival advantages. The geographic variation in blood type frequencies we see today is the accumulated record of which diseases hit which populations hardest. Of all the patterns in the global distribution of blood types, perhaps none is more striking than the distribution of Rh-negative blood. Globally, about 15% of people of European ancestry are Rh-negative. In sub-Saharan African ancestry, the figure is closer to 3 to 8%. In East Asian ancestry, it is less than 1%. And in some indigenous American populations, Rh-negative is virtually absent. This concentration in European populations has generated enormous speculation, some of it scientific, much of it not. Various theories have attributed it to Basque origins, to Neanderthal ancestry, to alien intervention, and to origins of varying plausibility. Most exotic theories can be dismissed. But why is Rh-negative concentrated in the Basque population, where frequencies reach 30%? The most scientifically supported explanation involves a combination of founder effect and genetic drift in early European populations. The Basques show high levels of ancestry from early European hunter-gatherers who inhabited Western Europe before the Neolithic farming migrations. Their high Rh- frequency likely reflects those early populations that was diluted as they mixed with incoming Neolithic farmers and steppe migrants. The Rh- frequency in the Basques is a genetic memory of pre-farming Europe, a biological trace of the populations who hunted mammoths. It is a record preserved in the blood of a mountain people who maintained enough isolation to retain what others lost. At this point, it is important to be clear about what blood type can and cannot tell you about your ancestry. Your blood type is determined by a single gene, the ABO gene, plus the separate Rh gene. This is an extraordinarily small fraction of your genome. Your genome contains approximately 20,000 genes. Drawing sweeping conclusions from your blood type is like describing a painting by looking at 2 pixels. Blood type does not reliably tell you your ethnic background. It does not tell you whether you have Neanderthal ancestry. It does not tell you about personality traits or intelligence. Blood type mythology is popular in some cultures, but it is not scientific. What blood type does tell you is a small piece of a larger story about human migration and disease history. Type O blood, the ancestral form. It traces its configuration back to a population on the Iranian Plateau 60,000 years ago. It dominates indigenous American populations because of a founding bottleneck 15,000 years old. It is more susceptible to cholera, but survived smallpox better than type A. A biological memory of the diseases your ancestors survived. Your blood type is not your destiny. It is a record carried in every drop of blood in your body, waiting to be read. Subscribe to Hidden Origins for more. What is your blood type? Did you know it connects you to history 60,000 years ago?